Hello and welcome back to another episode of On Campus here on the Solano College Sports Network. I'm your host today, Brooklyn Gonzales, and today we are joined by our very special guest, Kristin Olson. She is the head athletic trainer. So welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
So why don't we just start off by you telling us a little bit about your journey to becoming the head athletic trainer here at Solano Community College.
Yes. Okay. So I will tell you, when I first started school, I did not know what an athletic trainer even was. So it wasn't until I took a Knies 154 class at Sierra College that I even discovered that there was this whole new field, right? I thought, okay, I wanted to go into physical therapy. That was kind of the general path of what I wanted to do. And then I realized, oh, wow, there's this other side of stuff that's just for athletics. And you get to work with a very active population. And so I will say I very much surprised my professor when I was like, I want to start volunteering in the athletic training room, because I was that super quiet student that, didn't offer a lot in the classroom, like in terms of speaking up during discussions. And then, but once I started volunteering and kind of jumped in, I was sold, right? I was like, man, this is a job for me. I knew I was not going to be built for a desk job by any means.
Yeah.
So that's why that's why I knew I wanted to go into an active job. And so I went to Sierra College for my 2 years and transferred to Sac State and got into their their athletic training program. And did 2.5 years there and graduated with my degree in athletic training specifically. And then I sat for my board exam and passed that.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so that was a little bit of an overview of how you kind of got there.
Education wise, and then you asked how I got here to Solano. I was working at a time, once I got out of school, I knew I had a love for community college athletics. And I wanted to be in that role. There's those other jobs that are Division I, higher up, all of that. That looks like the dream job for people. And it really wasn't a fit for me. I knew I loved the community college athlete and I wanted to continue to work with them. So what I did was I started working temp jobs. And I worked temp jobs for 5 years before I got this opportunity to be the head athletic trainer here.
Oh, wow. What exactly are temp jobs?
So it's very short-term work, right?
Okay.
So possibly seasonal. So I was typically working about 60 hours a week between 3 or 4 different campuses in the community college setting. So American River College, all the Los Rios districts. So CRC, Folsom Lake. And I would just go to whatever campus needed me that day until I basically had to wait for someone to retire to have a job opening like this, because once you got into athletic training at the community college, a lot of people love their jobs here, so they want to stay.
Yeah.
And, there wasn't a lot of job openings for that, so I just had to kind of wait my turn and buy my time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You say that a lot of people who actually get that job at the community college level love their job. So can you tell us a little bit about what a typical day looks like for you?
Yeah. So typically we open the athletic training room around 10:30, depending on the day. Maybe a little bit later if we have evening games. But for us, we don't make appointments for our athletes. We kind of let whoever needs our help walks through the door. And then we service in-season sport athletes first, and then we will service any out-of-season athletes after that. And it's kind of, we like to have it that way, so it's like anyone feels like if they need help, they can come to us at any time. Okay. So typically mornings are built for any evaluations or rehabs to be built. And it's kind of hard for me to plan a day unless I'm working a game, because I don't know what's going to walk through the door, right? Maybe there's the athlete that's like, oh, I hurt myself 3 weeks ago. Or, hey, I hurt myself last night doing this. It's just, sometimes you just don't really know. So the plan is kind of just there.
Whatever happens that day.
Whatever happens that day.
Yeah. So along with that, can you kind of tell us the difference between the different sports on game day? What makes the difference between a basketball game and a baseball game and all that.
Yeah. I think even the big difference between outdoor and indoor sports,
Yeah.
right? And it just time wise for setup and who needs what for treatment. It's kind of how we plan the day. So before someone has to be ready, we usually try to give them at least an hour before they have to be out onto the field to get whatever treatment that they need done. In terms of different sports, I will say that kind of changes every year based off of the athletes' personalities, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes that we have certain teams that are super needy, and we have some years that there are teams that are not needy at all, and they don't really utilize us that much, which is okay. And so, yeah, I'm not really. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does. Would you say that you have like a favorite sport to work with, or are you allowed to say that? Or
How many of my athletes are watching and gonna get mad at me? To be honest, I do love all of my sports. I will say I'm a soccer player at heart. Um, but I really do enjoy working with volleyball in the fall. That was one of the first sports that I really worked with after graduation. And to be honest, I had no idea what the difference between a pass and a set was.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know. That was so I think because I had to go through the learning process of how to learn the sport too when I was working it, that it makes me appreciate it a lot more. And the girls are just so fun. And then for spring, I do have a love for baseball. I really appreciate the sport and the camaraderie you get with the guys out there. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
completely agree. I definitely see that like the um environment in baseball is just like such a fun one to be around, and you're there for a long time, so
You are. And, just hanging out in the dugout
yeah,
or sidelines, to be honest, is where I build my rapport with my athletes.
right.
That's where I get to know them. Like, I get to learn, what their favorite snack is, right? Or, what's going on in their lives. And that's where I get to have those conversations and get to see them as humans, too.
Yeah, for sure. Most of us don't really get to see what goes on in like the background of like these sports or like in the dugout or the sideline. What is something that you would say like that you experience when you're out at those games that most people like wouldn't really know?
Um, I mean, I think it's the getting to know, like, it's like, oh, what do you talk about in the dugout or on the sidelines? And I think it's really like, oh, yeah, sometimes we talk about the game, but it also is talking about getting to know the athlete as well.
Like the relationships with the athletes. Yeah.
Because so much of what I would do in my job, honestly, you're not going to see on the sideline and you're not going to see in the dugout.
Yeah.
You might see very small portions of what I do, like someone gets hurt or, needs simple band-aid covering or things like that. Or if there's that emergency situation and we have to take the field and run on the field for stuff. But most of what I do is in the room. And so I have to build those relationships on the sidelines to convince them to come see me in the room.
Yeah, to like build that like comfortability.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just kind of like move gears and head towards the program here at Solano. So what can you give us like a little bit of an overview of the program here?
Yeah. So I will be honest, I don't teach any of the classes. Our part-time professor, Carrie Dill, teaches them. And I know that our other athletic trainer, Megan, is going to co-teach one of the courses coming up. So part of the program as a whole, there's the sports med. I think there's a back care class that's all online, so very convenient. And we really encourage anyone to kind of take that because it's a very general overview of kind of core stability. And then we have our practicum classes that you get into. So our injury and prevention, that's the one course that I got hooked into athletic training with. And I think that course alone, it does a good job of covering all of the kind of healthcare professions. So it's not just built for athletic trainers it's or people wanting to go into sports medicine. It's really built for, okay, let's explore some of these and what you can do. Yes, related to sports medicine, but maybe you want to be a PT. Maybe you want to go into nursing. Maybe you want to move on and be a doctor one day or a nutritionist. How do those all relate to athletics, right?
Right.
So I think that that's a good overview course. And then the practicum courses, which is where the students are getting hands-on practice, maybe learning tape jobs. There's an upper and a lower extremity course to those. So there's a first semester and a second semester. So the first semester, they're in the classroom, they're learning the skills. The second semester is when we're really encouraging those students that maybe do want all of that extra hands-on to come into our athletic training room and help us as students and get extra internship hours.
Yeah, you mentioned hands-on experience. How important is it for students at this level to get that hands-on experience?
I think very, very important. And it's not just, like I said, for anyone that's specific to sports medicine. I think anyone who's looking at a medical field in general and wanting to get that practice of interacting with somebody, in medicine, we treat with our hands, right? And so I think that that's kind of builds some confidence on being able to do that in a very low-key environment.
Yeah.
And it gives them the confidence to continue to move on.
And then I just wanted to ask you, do you have any other advice for people who are wanting to become an athletic trainer like you or something similar in the field?
I think because the world of athletic training, we look at it now and it's different than when I went to school, right?
Yeah.
So when I went to school, it was a bachelor's degree. Now it's an entry-level master's degree. So we're making school longer for them. And I think the biggest thing is for students that want to go into this field to not be discouraged by the timeline.
Right.
And to continue to kind of re-engage in making sure that they're getting practice and internship hours and to figure out their passion of why they want to do this, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that that's my biggest advice is not to be discouraged by the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today
Yeah,
in the
thank you.
studio. Thank you guys for joining us on another episode of On Campus here at the Solano College Sports Network. I'm your host today, Brooklyn Gonzales, and again, we got the pleasure to be talking to our very special guest, Kristin Olson. We will see you in the next episode.
If you are interested in a career in sports broadcasting,
whether you're commentating a live game
or hosting your own TV show,
for more information, contact Greg Poff. That's me at solano.edu.
we hope to see you here next semester. And remember,
It's more than just sports, it's an education.